Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to dive into some of the biggest psychological myths, some false beliefs about human behavior that sound true but really aren't. We'll also explore where these myths came from and how scientific research helped debunk them. Okay, let's look at some myths. Now, first, we should define what a psychological myth is. A psychological myth is a belief about human behavior or the mind that's widely accepted but actually false. Myths spread because they seem to make sense or are repeated often, especially in pop culture or movies or even textbooks. But just because something feels true and is repeated doesn't mean it is true. Now, this myth claim that we use only 10% of our brain is a good example, but it's totally false. Modern neuroscience, which is the scientific study of the brain and nervous system, shows that we use almost every part of our brain throughout the day. Brain imaging studies like fMRIs and PET scans show activity across many regions of the brain, even when we're resting or daydreaming. So we're definitely using more than 10% of our brain. You've also probably heard people say, I'm a visual learner, or I learn best by hearing. The idea of learning styles sound great, but research shows little evidence that teaching to a student's preference style improves learning. Anyway, in this granular way, while others are more visual, while others are more auditory in their learning style, what actually matters more? Well, active learning strategies, the type of content and how students engage with it, is what really leads to success. Now, this one, opposites attract, is everywhere in movies. But is it true? Well, not really. Research in social psychology, which is the study of how people think, feel, and behave in social contexts, shows us that people tend to actually be more attracted to those who are most similar to them, especially when it comes to values, to attitudes, and personality. So the more accurate saying would be, birds of a feather flock together. So how do these myths get started? A lot of times it really is repetition. We hear them so often they feel true. Sometimes research is misinterpreted by the media, or early studies get overhyped. Other times we just rely solely on our intuition, which is a gut feeling that doesn't actually match reality. That's why we need science to step in and help us out. Now, what debunks these myths? Well, it's usually real science. Case studies and experiments help us to see the truth. For example, brain scans disproved the 10% myth, and meta-analyses, which are large reviews of many studies, show learning styles don't really improve outcomes. And longitudinal studies, which is research done over long periods, show that similarity leads to stronger and longer lasting relationships. Now, the big takeaway, we don't want to believe everything we hear, even if it's popular. We ask for the evidence. And that's what makes psychology so powerful. It gives us tools to separate fact from fiction and think critically. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.